I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Natural Resource Board, regular meeting for Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. If we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to roll call.
Oh, I apologize. That's my out of breath here. I apologize for that. Can we get roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Ware?
Present.
Ms. Callahan? Don't see her. Ms. Haggerty?
You have to push the button.
Here. Ms. Billman? Here. Dr. Carrier?
Here.
Mr. Carano?
Here.
Mr. Bradley is not here. And Mr. Stadelman?
I am here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna, where did I call you?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Glad to see everybody's here. Thank you for coming. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 5th, 2022 meeting.
Thank you, Tom.
And I second it.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. Can we get a voice vote for approval? For aye for approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same sign for nay. Ayes have it. We'll move on to item 5. Announcements. We would like to welcome our new board members. Welcome, new board members. Hi and hi. Ms. Sharita Billman and Sarah Haggerty. Would you like to introduce yourself to us? Please.
Well, I've been a resident of Sebastian for about 9
Oh, excuse me. You want to catch that green? When it's green, that's you. There you go. That's good. You'll get used to it.
I've been a resident of Sebastian for about... Okay. I'll learn. I've been a resident of Sebastian for about 9 years now, and I've become very involved with a lot of the environmental things and around my neighborhood and the county and the city. I am actively involved in monitoring scrub jays right now at Wabasso for the county. I've been doing that for about 7 years now. I'm an avid gardener, butterfly keeper, bird watcher, you name it. So, and I'm also an avid tree person, so I think I need to be part of this process.
Well, we're glad you are part of the process, and thanks for being here for the last 10 years, and thanks for joining the resource board. Ms. Haggerty, you're way over there on the right.
I'm Sarah, and I've been a resident for 30 years, and I have always thoroughly enjoyed everything that we have to offer outdoors. I also...
Turn your mic on.
I don't hold it. I'm so sorry. You want me to start again?
Yeah.
I've been a resident for 30 years. I enjoy everything that we have to offer outdoors. I've been doing gardening. I worked at McKee Botanical Gardens for a couple of years, and I also do scrub jay counts during the summer. I am going to start doing the gopher tortoise. I believe tomorrow will be the first class, which I look forward to. And I'm excited to also be a part of all of our events that we do here. So thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Ms. Haggerty. And I think, team, we have at least 2 candidates for gopher turtle duty. We'll talk about that later, though. That's about it for announcements, but really thank you. We try to be an energetic board. We welcome your input. We're going to learn a few things as we go along, and we're going to teach a few things as we go along, and there'll be things that we are going to do. We're going to work hard, and we're going to do the best we can for Sebastian. Okay, that's about it for announcements. We'll move on to item 6, public input. Is there any public input today? Anybody out there?
I have one hand raised on Zoom.
We have one hand raised on Zoom.
Go ahead, Graham.
I've unmuted. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Charles and the committee, I'm delighted that you're staying in business in this hot weather. Thank you very much. I'd just like to raise one issue with you folks to raise awareness. And the thing that we've spent a lot of time on is talking about sustainable Sebastian, but we're about to see an annexation of a vast piece of property to the city that's going to totally change the character and the life of this city. And I want to make sure that the Natural Resources Board is involved in the decisions that are going to come and the future land use situation that we're going to have out on that property. That's nearly 2,000 acres added to the city, several thousand people, and it's going to change the sustainability issues that you've been working on. So next week, on Tuesday night and Thursday night, your opportunities to participate in discussions about this annexation, and the decisions are going to be made over the next 2 or 3 months, and I'd like you all to get involved in that and learn what the annexation is likely to do to the city and its character. Thank you.
Thank you for your input to the Natural Resource Board and to Sebastian, Mr. Cox. Is there any other additional public input? I thank you for that, and again, thank you for your participation. We'll move on to item 7, new business. Item B, Resolution R2215, creating new board categories and procedures. And we have the illustrious Jeanette here, our city clerk, Jeanette Williams. And it's a rare occasion. We actually get to see you up here talking at the podium. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we haven't caused too much trouble. And but we're just going to learn about procedures and things that we're going to tighten up on a little bit going forward. Obviously, we're growing. You know, we've been a full board now for a few years, and it's good to see the participation and the level of participation. And we're looking ahead for legacy planning, obviously, and staying within the rules and the guidelines from obviously Sunshine State laws and Robert's rules. Mm-hmm. And I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. I'm Jeanette, the city clerk. And a few months ago, City Council asked me and the city attorney to revise some of the board procedures and policies. And as a result, we've come up with this resolution R2215, which addresses the way that board meeting agendas are formatted. And this resolution is in your agenda packet. On page 12 of your agenda packet, you will see the Natural Resources Board falls under the fact-finding over here? Okay. Do I need to start over? No. Okay. All right. So the Natural Resources Board falls under page 12, a fact-finding committee. So your meetings are designed to provide advice to City Council on protecting, preserving, and promoting our Natural Resources Board. Yeah? Is it not good?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. And we just don't have, I don't see the look on the face where we're following what you're saying with what we have up here.
On page 12 of the...
We're on page 12, but we're looking, and
okay.
Our page 12 may be different. It's here.
It's not titled Natural Resources Board, fact-finding ad hoc agenda format.
Okay, that's it right here. It's in there. It's just called something else. It is in there. It looks like it's called page 12 of 17 in the lower right-hand corner, page 6 in the big print. In the Chinese, it says.
Thank you.
But thank you very much.
Okay.
Sorry.
So that's going to be your new agenda format. So there'll still be public input, unfinished business, and new business, but there no longer be board member matters under this new format. But that doesn't mean you can't bring stuff up. If you want to bring an idea or something up, talk to the staff liaison, which right now we're in transition, but just talk to them and they'll help determine or decide if that item should come to a future agenda at a future meeting. And of course, you can always talk to your council members if you have an idea or you want to bring something or you want to talk about something. So we don't want to stifle that input. We just want to kind of tighten up the agendas and the meetings and how the meetings are flowing.
And could I ask, how long in advance do we have to ask for that?
To talk to a staff liaison,
To request an agenda item be put on the agenda?
just give the staff liaison a call anytime, Monday through Friday, and they'll talk it over with you, and then they'll put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Does that
I'm
answer your
just
question?
saying, like, if I call a week before the meeting, is that enough time?
I
put it
believe
on the-
so, because the agendas go out the Friday before.
So it has to go
I
before
would
that
say
Friday?
at least by the Wednesday, because what if the staff liaison?
That's why I'm
need-
asking, yes.
Yeah, the staff liaison might need to research or look up something or see how something was done in the past. So just give that person a little bit of time to research the matter.
Jeanette, can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
That format, how close does that follow the Roberts Rules general layout? Does Roberts Rules take out board members?
I'm not sure if agenda format is that detailed in Robert's rules, but it does recommend having an agenda because agendas tell you what's coming up and how long your meeting should be. So it's like a planning tool.
Because we've been pretty tight on just only talking about issues here at this meeting here. And we don't do phone calls and we don't do outside anything. And because of everything that's happened with the Sunshine State laws, we've been like, don't even,
So do you mean phone calling each other?
Yeah.
Or, oh, so if there's something that you want to talk to the other board members about?
right.
I would still call the staff liaison, and then it'll be an agenda item that's listed. I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah. Well, and then back to my original question, how close without this, because I don't have my Roberts Rules book with me, I was so busy this afternoon.
That's a pretty thick manual.
I got the briefer version. Does anybody have more, anybody have an additional opinion on this change?
Yeah, I agree with Jeanette. I don't think it goes into that much detail as far as what can be put on an agenda or anything. I don't think it tells you that.
I really just, I'm sorry.
Robert's Rules really deals with procedures and structure of motions, approval of motions, the role of seconding and whatnot. It doesn't really prescribe meeting agendas because Robert Rules applies in the broadest sense to any organization that has a construct that includes a board or a committee or something like that. So it's less inclined to deal with issues of agenda. This seems more local. And in the absence of a staff liaison, for example, if a board happens to be between liaisons and whatnot, that might be a real encumbrance to.
You're welcome to call me, and we have the city engineer tonight. I don't know if you guys met Karen Miller, the city engineer, and then Felicia. She is our intern, but I'm not sure of her, if she's here Monday through Friday, but just call us. Everybody knows how to reach me. I'll go ahead and give you my number, 388-8215.
So the opportunity to present new information to the assembled board would seem to be stifled a bit by absence of a member input that, things might come up with a short turnaround.
I don't want to particularly say that it'll be stifled, because if you contact me, I'll make sure it gets done. I'm in constant contact with all of the city employees, so I will make sure your item, that you'll receive a call back.
And can I ask one question? Does the contact of us contacting you violate anything with the Sunshine State rules?
No.
Now, without any of us speaking it here in public, that's really what the real sticking thing has been, because I've been like not talking to anybody out there. So I don't even, hardly even call you guys unless it has something else to do. And we've been really tight on that as a board. And now it's really, that's a big change for us. That's why you're feeling that little pushback, because now we don't have any way of bringing up these issues that have come up. And I don't know if this is, I don't know, why was it changed? Can we?
It was just to give more structure to the meetings, to the board meetings.
Right.
So I don't think that you guys were calling each other outside the meeting.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's because
So-
we don't call each other, because we bring it up at Members
Yeah.
Matters. That
Okay.
is our opportunity to bring stuff up, and we've always used that to bring it, well, it was Kim, now it's Miss Miller, and Miss
Felicia?
Guardian, did I say that? I'm sorry, that isn't quite right. And that's the way we've always done it, but now because what they're actually doing then is that they're gonna put something on the agenda that hasn't been even spoken about on the board or brought through chair, regardless if I'm chair or not. And that procedure's totally gone at that point.
I would say that you're still able to call the staff liaison and put something on there. And of course, you'll always have public input on the items that are listed on the agenda. I don't see it as preventing you guys from bringing stuff forward.
Right. Is there any other opinion on the board?
Can I
about
ask
this?
another related question to this? So now, does public input have to deal with what's on the agenda? Or can people come to a meeting and say what they want to say to the board, because we don't have any other way of getting their input, whether it's on the agenda or not?
The public input part, you're correct. If they have an idea, they can come to the board, bring it to the board, and then this, by consensus of the board, it'll come back to the next agenda. So the
So-
public can.
When do we make that consensus? While the person's standing there?
Mhm.
I don't really think that that's very functionable.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
it's
mean,
kinda
we have
hard.
somebody here that's
The staff-
crazy and
the-
is asking us to do something, you know, and one of the board says, yes, I think we should do this, and we can't, I don't understand how we're supposed to resolve that.
The staff liaison will be able to tell if it's something that can come to a next meeting. Their
Well,
expertise.
Go ahead, I'm
And
sorry.
for now, since we don't have a staff liaison, I think a best practice might be to call the citizens request line. Because anyone in town, if they ever have an issue or something they want to bring up, they can call the citizens request line, and whatever department it's related to in the city, it gets given to the proper department, and we investigate if we need to and move on, as necessary. So
One of
that's
us to
something.
call the citizens request line?
I'm just thinking if it's something that is an issue that you don't want to wait to put on an agenda. If you've noticed something in the city that something is wrong and you want to take action a little quicker. I'm just giving you options here. We can still call.
So is this resolution already voted on? It's a
Yes.
done deal?
It was adopted by city council, yes. Do you guys have an example of something that,
Well, for us, a lot of times, because this is the only time we see each other, okay, this hour or whatever it is, if we if any of us want to work on something, we discuss it together here under Members Matter. And then together we say, well, that looks like, does anybody else think that's a good idea? How do you feel about it? And it's all public. It's all on
Yeah,
video, so that we can't discuss it outside of this room. And now you're taking that away from us, because now if we have something, we have to get it put on the agenda, and we don't even know where anybody else is on this.
I would still contact the staff liaison, and then it'll come on the agenda.
I can understand, but we don't have one now.
We're working on that.
Okay.
We're advertising right now.
Okay, I'll
So-
trust you on that.
Yes, we're advertising.
The problem, as you're aware, is that we meet monthly. And 4 weeks or 5 weeks can be a significant passage of time if something comes up and needs to be brought forth. There are some educational opportunities some of us have been pursuing for board members to participate in. We might need to get feedback to be able to be responsible to another agency that's helping us with those procedures. And yet, we don't always know that far in advance to be able to get it scheduled on an agenda.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, boards can call special meetings anytime, and we're lucky tonight to have the city engineer. So we're not forsaking you guys, if you want to call it that. So, and they're going to talk tonight about the tulip project, the tulip drainage project. So we're still, I feel like we're still moving along. So,
Well, are you, was that it, what you were going to say right there? I didn't want to interrupt. What we're dealing with right now is this agendas and everything that we're doing is pretty much left over from what we've been working on. And we got a lot of new stuff coming on, but I'm really limited with speaking about stuff that needs to come up like Earth Day and things like that, unless I put it on the agenda, and then I got a whole month to go before I can deal with anything with the real, because I'm just the chairperson, but there's stuff that needs to get done, and we miss one meeting like we just did, we could go 8 weeks
okay.
without any action from the board. And that's a lot. Let me ask just one question. Is this, again, is this written in stone? Is this already done?
Yes, it's adopted.
All right.
So,
Is there any additional input from the board?
I just want to add that a few other changes that they made was they decided to require that residents live in the city 1 year prior to application, so they have a feel for what's going on in the city. And then they're going to require the alternates to attend the meetings so that you can keep the projects going and keep the quorum. So,
Yeah. Okay. On this resolution, does anybody else have any additional input? Does anybody have any action they want to take on this?
I have one other question under section 1, and it's just because I'm an editor at heart, and I don't like the way this is worded. But it says in section 1, city board and committee meetings shall begin no later than 6 and shall adjourn at 9:30, unless extended for not more than 30, blah, 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 blah. So that, to me, reads, oh, we're going to have to sit here till 9:30. So I think it should be, instead of shall adjourn, you have to put something at the latest 9:30 or something like that.
okay.
Because the way this is read, I read this, we're going to have a 3-hour.
Someone who wrote this didn't.
That's a good point. If this comes up for revision, I'll include that.
since it's adopted already,
It is adopted, but
is there
things-
a process for approaching about revisions? You mentioned the time frame that Donna brought up. If there were other issues that we thought might be worth reconsidering, can an item like this be redirected to council for revision?
Certainly, certainly. Do you mean just the time frame or additional revisions?
Yeah, the timeframe, I think you could take care of that in editorial change. My concern is, and if I'm reading most of the board correctly, the element of being able to comment on ongoing matters is something that we historically have called member matters. It seems awfully important to this board, and I wonder if we might approach council to see what their thinking is, since each one of these structures here pertains to certain specific boards. I wonder if we might offer some objection and some recommendations to perhaps modify this particular agenda structure.
You could, but I feel that your ongoing projects will always be listed on your agenda, like Earth Day, just like Kim has done in the past, Earth Day, and then she kind of lists your different tasks, doesn't she? So that will be like unfinished business. So Earth Day will be there, and another project that you're working on, it'll be listed, and then the things that are going to happen under there. So your projects are still going to be on the agenda. They're going to be under Number 6.
So, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt again.
That's-
So if we are astute enough, we can switch over we can just switch gears and put everything under unfinished business. So,
And, I mean, this is another problem for me, trying to understand what the words mean. But when you say agenda modifications and additions require unanimous vote of members. So when are we supposed to do that?
we need agenda modifications right up front. It's usually done when we're looking at number 4, it says agenda modifications.
Right.
They'll put that's actually a little change actually, because we didn't do that before. That's why she's bringing that up.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be a place where if we have, let's say, an educational opportunity that pops up at the last minute, we might request that be put under new business or if it's by extension unfinished business or something like that.
That could happen.
Yeah, that might be a way to get around this whole issue.
Right.
Or like if you have a speaker that's under new business and they have to leave quickly or they have to leave the meeting quickly, agenda modifications, you can move that speaker up, something like that.
Or we can add to the agenda at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, we're not allowed to add to it?
If everybody agrees.
Okay. Deletions do not apply. That's why you're asking that. So we just have to, right, there's a process.
It's going to
and-
take a little bit to get used to.
And it's, and obviously it has to do because all the boards are getting very active and we're a little bit more than what we were 5 years ago. And there's a lot of people here now that have to deal with process. And me being one of them. It's, but, okay. If, would we, as a board, let me ask the board, would you want to pursue to the city council or anybody we can to get members' matters put back on? Or do you want to move forward with what we have?
I think we have to try it first.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I think this whole conversation has shown that agenda modifications might be the way to deal with that.
Sure.
Which is simply say, we want to put on traffic patterns for bicycles to honor Ruth's concern, for example. And even though she's not here, we'll speak in her absence.
I am here. I joined 4 minutes late. I've heard all of this, and my interjection is I agree with Donna that it's already been passed, so let's give it a shot anyway. But I did not see an agenda come through in advance. I know we're in between, and my request for Jeanette is just to perhaps follow up with this meeting to make sure that we have email contacts for the 3 people that were mentioned here. And then just to note that the agenda was prepared in advance by Kim for this meeting and the next meeting and passed along. There are several things that are continuing from prior meetings that were desired. We didn't have last month's meeting, but there are several items such as getting the training in on doing the litter quitter program. We talked about being very active with that, and it was supposed to be our going through our 5-year plan and seeing where progress has been made. These items are not on the agenda for today or the next one left by Kim, and probably should have been had we had our meeting last month. So just saying, we're all anxious to keep moving on all the items we're working on. And, part of the angst, I think, is that we're not getting there, and we have lots of things that we are happily excited working on.
You're right about that, Ruth. And, trying to tighten up the process. Do you have any other comments, Ruth?
I do not, thanks.
Okay. Well, it looks like the resolution for R2215 is something that the Natural Resource Board is going to learn to adapt to. Adapt and overcome is the catchphrase of the day. And we'll do our best to conform. Is there anything else on resolution
No,
2215?
no. You, call me if you have any more questions or any more concerns.
Okay, all right, and we'll stay our best to stay within the lines.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Thank all of
Thank you,
you.
Jeanette. We greatly appreciate everything you do up there. And it's like the principal showing up when you come here. We just
No,
don't know
think
what
of me
to
like
expect.
that. Don't think of,
Principal needs to show.
Yes, principal does need to show up.
all right, thank you.
We thank you. Oops, I'm still working here. Okay, let's move on from item A to item B, the Tulip Grant Habitat Restoration Project. And we have presentation for project details and discussion of our role. If you'd like to take over, Ms. Miller. Oh, I don't think we've been introduced to everybody yet. And we want to meet our new staff members here. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
So I was going to say to you all, I'm Karen Miller, the Director of Public Works and the City Engineer. You can definitely contact me in the interim because I am involved in a lot of these different projects. You may not have known it before, but I have been involved in some of these. For example, this Tulip Pond project, I know for us it's important. We wanted to bring it to your attention, but I know there wasn't a meeting last month, so I know this does cause delays and issues. But I'm here to help. I have my contact information for all of you after the meeting. And we have Felicia.
Hi, I'm Felicia Gordian. I know I've met some of you before. Welcome to our new board members. I first became the environmental intern a few months ago, and I had come to a natural resource board meeting where I first saw some of you, and Kim first saw me, and she decided to look me up, and through the intercourse that followed, I ended up becoming the intern. And I've been working on this Tulip Grant project and also the green infrastructure plan that Kim and I had been focusing on. So that's my presence here. You can contact me at the city. I do have a city email address. It's fgordian@gmail, or sorry, oh my gosh, not Gmail, at cityofsebastian.com. So if any of you need to get a hold of me, I will be in the office typically on Mondays and Thursdays. But if I can, I will find a way to contact all of you and let you know the best times that you can get in contact with me.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. And then if you want to continue on with our Tulip Grant Habitat Restoration Project.
So in your packet, you should see the scope of work, but we have a presentation for you about this. So I'll wait for that presentation to be brought up. Thanks. So this project has become possible due to the Indian River Lagoon Council's small grant program. They have a match for up to $5,000. We applied back in April. Kim and I worked on the application, and we were awarded it in June.
Karen, can I mention one thing? I actually signed off on that application. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but
Yes, we got a letter of support from Charles, and we were hoping that counts as a letter of support for the whole Natural Resource Board. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring this to your attention today about what we're working on and the continuous role that we want to have in the future. So, back, as you can see up there, there's an aerial from before 2016 when the area was a vacant plot of land that was owned by the city of Sebastian. In 2016, we received a grant from Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and we went ahead and designed a retention pond and a little pocket park in that area. And this is part of our Basin Management Action Plan. And in that, the goals were to improve water quality by reducing nutrient loads, by allowing them to settle out through the system in that stormwater pond instead of continuing on in the stormwater conveyance, prevent flooding along Tulip Drive, and prevent downstream erosion. So now today we have this pond. It's been there for quite a few years, but as you see, it is quite a barren, bare park. So we have applied for this habitat restoration project for three main focuses: water quality improvements, habitat restoration, and education and outreach. One of the big things is we want to use this project as a pilot program so we can showcase low impact development and green infrastructure, so we can bring this to other areas of the city and also show it to everyone in the city that these are options that they can use, whether it be on their own or at developments. So Alicia's going to go over the different three main focuses of the project.
Okay, let's talk about water quality improvements. So the improvements in water quality will actually be driven by the installation of an aerating fountain and the habitat restoration component of the project, which we will discuss shortly. The pH, the sediment, and the nutrient levels of the pond are extremely important factors because they will determine how well the habitat restoration portion of the project actually does, how well the plants take once we put those into the soil. All these factors must be just right in order for the plants to survive in the long term. We will be testing the water quality. There has been a test that has already been conducted, so we have the results of that. And then also the water quality testing will be conducted after the fountain is installed and after the planting project has been done, and also potentially quarterly thereafter, to make sure that the plants will survive long term. All right, now here we have the habitat restoration portion of the project. We intend for a large part of this project to be volunteer-based, to have several volunteer events in order to actually plant the new native species that we want to go into this area. And as we intend to host several volunteer events, safety, of course, is of paramount importance. So prior to planting, the pond will be checked for a gator to make sure that everything is safe for both us and for the gator, and we will coordinate with FWC to determine the best course of action in that case. Now, the pond will be prepped by removing sod from the shoreline of the pond. We will also be restoring the as-built grade of the pond to restore the as-built, as in the initial sloping of the pond that was intended. We will also be removing invasive species from the pond and around the pond, so they don't have a negative impact on the native wildlife that we are going to install. Vegetation will be planted, of course, in the littoral zone, the shoreline, and the upland areas of the park. And these areas will provide, of course, habitat for various species, such as aquatic animals to the birds living in the trees. And then there is the potential that we will be harvesting some of these species from areas around Sebastian, just taking areas from other parks. But that has not been set in stone just yet. And of course, after the planting is completed, the new plants will be watered regularly, and the whole tract will be monitored for potentially up to 2 months after the initial plantings. And the goal is to make sure that they will be able to survive on their own in the long term. Yeah. Now, of course, it wouldn't be complete without an education and outreach portion of the project. Our main target audiences are local residents, developers, and commercial property owners, and HOAs. There will be promotions for this project on the city website and also on social media outlets. The city will also host a few events to educate the public and these other larger private entities on how they can get involved, and also to solicit volunteers for the project. Additionally, the city will use local media outlets such as Sebastian Daily to inform people about the project and gain a little bit more coverage. We also will have signage placed on the Tulip Pond property to educate people on matters such as invasive species, native vegetation, the aerating fountain, water quality, the stormwater conveyance system, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, of course, to allow people who are coming just to visit the park to understand a little bit more about the system, why we did this project, what the purpose of it was. And with the methods discussed here, we're hoping to reach as many people in town as possible, from the old to the young, Projects and green infrastructure movements like these are extremely important because they impact everyone's quality of life, and we're hoping to convey that. Right. Now, this project is particularly exciting because of how well it fits into the Sustainable Sebastian Action Plan and with the Stormwater Integrated Pest Management, or IPM plan. It actually meets Goal 2 of the Sustainable Sebastian Action Plan, which is to support landscaping practices which promote healthy native ecosystem by assisting and promoting curbs lagoon-friendly lawns and University of Florida's IFAS, Florida-friendly landscape programs. It also meets Goal 5, which is to protect and restore water quality to all of our city's water bodies by supporting the city's stormwater program in the creation of toolkits emphasizing best management practices, low-impact development, and green infrastructure. Now, in the Integrated Pest Management Plan, it also matches some of the recommendations under the non-chemical methods section for managing ponds, particularly the aerating fountain and the planting of emergent native vegetation.
So in the scope of work and then shown up here, we've given you the project budget that we proposed to the Indian River Lagoon Council. This is what they have approved for the grant. As I said before, it is a match grant up to $5,000, and we've taken full advantage of that. So the Indian River Lagoon will be funding about $4,791.50. We do understand that these prices may change, but that is our maximum allowed match. And those prices include half of the aerating fountain, a lot of the plants, the signage that we're going to be installing, and in addition, what the city will be paying is half of that, plus we'll also be paying for the water testing, and if necessary, the invasive removal. We're not saying that is definite. We have a consultant that will be working with us, but as you saw, that area is pretty bare at this point, so we don't foresee needing that, but put it in just in case, because we don't want to put in new native plants if there's an invasive that might crowd it out. But at this point, as you see, it's a pretty barren section. And the water testing is really so we can show the progress and show how this has improved water quality throughout, because if we want to show this as a project for the future and tell people how it's working, we have this data and these results. So again, we're hoping to use this as a pilot project, but this is our general budget as of right now. And like Felicia said, there is the option to harvest some of these plants from other city sites where we have an abundance of them, but we can coordinate that in the future. In this slide, you can see this is our draft planting plan that we've provided Indian River Lagoon Council. So you can see here, everything in gray is from the previous project where the pond was created in 2016. You can see there's some maple trees around the edges of the property, but right now they are still pretty small. We are looking to plant additional trees, and we are also looking, you can see there are 3 different areas where there's a little bit of existing spike rush that has already started growing in the pond. We are looking to expand that littoral zone and do more planting on the water's edge, as well as the shoreline shrubbery. We did not include planting around 100% of the perimeter because we do have drainage structures at this pond, which we will need to maintain access to. But we wanted to make sure we added this to a majority of the area. And this is up for discussion, and we can coordinate with your group and others if you have any input, but this is just a draft that has been given to Indian River Lagoon Council at this point of where we're looking to go.
Can I ask you a question about that back one slide?
I think we'll do questions right at the end, but we can go back to the specifics if it's okay. And then as for order of events for moving forward, we've done the first water quality test to date. That has already happened. We have already ordered the aerating fountain, and that will be the first thing to happen and be installed. We're installing that prior to putting in the vegetation around it, so you make sure you have that easy access. Then there will be site preparation and planting. We are looking to split this up into a few different planting volunteer days. So we are looking to do the trees, the upland work first, and we know that will take the most care, and we want to give it its time to establish. Then we will do a littoral and shoreline planting day. But again, these are all, we can split up the times however we'd like, but we would like it to be a volunteer effort, and we will be advertising, and we're hoping some of you can come and you can help push for this. Because during that time, we want to educate everyone in the community about the different native plants and how to determine which one is which and best planting methods, and we want this to be an educational activity. Then after all of that is done, we will complete the signed, we were going to install this educational signage at the park, and then finally we will have to, by June of 2023, submit all of our final reports to Indian River Lagoon Council.
So just to drive home how important we feel this project is, I'm going to be discussing the ecological value and the socioeconomic value of the project. What we're doing here is essentially recreating an ecosystem that has been lost, and we're going to be receiving a lot of ecosystem services from the planting. There will be nutrient uptake and storage, filtration of sediments, as Karen had discussed before, the reduction of erosion, as previously mentioned as well, and also, of course, the habitat restoration, creating a home for a lot of aquatic terrestrial species, as well as a plethora of microbiota that, even though we can't see it, they are there. These benefits would be enhanced by the aerating fountain, which would provide the constant aeration needed, allowing the pond to absorb and break down nutrients and break down organic material, reducing muck buildup. And the end result that we hope to see is an increase in the pond's stormwater capacity and less flooding along Tulip Drive in general. Now for the socioeconomic value of the project. When engaging with the community on the project, the aim is to help residents connect with their environment and to help them understand the importance of their involvement and their participation in environmental efforts such as these in their own community. If we want to safeguard our way of life in the town that we hold dear and keep that sort of small town life atmosphere, then we have to be active participants and find small ways to contribute, even if it means just planting some milkweed or some blanket flowers in your own yard. Part of the charm that makes Sebastian so special are its natural elements, and having an aesthetically pleasing environment is actually good for us. It's healthy for us as humans to be out in nature. And part of this project, we're hoping to engage people and help remind people of that fact. With the project, we also aim to lead by example and demonstrate a green infrastructure best management practice. This project is a nature-based solution that non-residential property owners can learn from and apply to their own properties. The project is in many ways meant to engage what we mentioned before, developers, HOAs, and commercial property owners that is seeking stormwater fee credits. Stormwater fee credits are an opportunity for these types of property owners to reduce their November tax bill by making changes to their property that reduce water pollution. And through this project, we hope to directly show them an example of something that actually meets the criteria for the stormwater fee credit program. And now here is the link to the project website if you're interested in checking it out. Right now, it just has information on the Tulip Drainage Improvement Project, but we will be updating that within the coming months. And with that, thank you for your attention and your time, and let's open the floor for questions.
I'd like to say, wow. I'm sure we're going to get some questions here. When I did sign off on this earlier in the year, but I'm thinking clean up the pond, you know, and it's so much more than that. But I'd like to hear other input from the rest of the board, and start down here if you like.
Nothing yet. I go by there quite often, and it's pretty, it just does nothing. I know there was like a little alligator in there at one time, and everyone can see him going by. I don't know if he's still there or not. But I think it definitely is the new, I'm sorry. I go by that area quite a bit, and when I first saw it, it was all full of vegetation and so forth, so it has changed dramatically. But I didn't realize that they were going to upgrade it with new plantings and so forth. So anything that has more trees and foliage on it would be a plus for our community. I don't know where our plans to have people actually at some point be able to walk around it, or is it going to be like for dogs? I mean, because right now it feels like you're not supposed to go in there. So is that something that is going to be addressed?
I got a very similar vibe when I visited the site as well, and we had some people come and ask us what was happening there, and it was unclear. So I think we'll definitely, as a city, talk to leisure services and determine what we'd want to do. We would love, that's the idea, we want to install that educational signage, and we do want it to become welcoming, that you kind of have to walk over there and look at it. So I think that will also help with the idea of showing, yes, you can come over here, take a look at this, and then you can look around at the area.
Another thing I recall listening to earlier was that it sounded like the verbiage or the sign was going to go in after the whole work was completed. Would it be better to put something in there beforehand so that people know what's going on and what they can look forward to?
We did talk about putting a temporary sign of habitat restoration project in progress, but I think we might want to put more than just those words so people know what's coming.
Exactly.
But we definitely, in our application, we talked about putting a QR code so it could bring you to the website, and the whole idea is we want this to be educational and linking people to the native landscaping and other materials that the Natural Resource Board website currently has, but we have seen a lot of people are not going to that. So we definitely are going to do some signage in the interim, and then that installation we've spoken about is a finalized sign. We didn't want to put that finalized sign about what is getting installed prior, but we are going to have something in between, for sure. Absolutely, thanks.
Once the project is completed, something as simple as a couple of benches. A couple of benches around where the trees are being planted would be, I think, much more obvious that this is a welcoming area.
And also, I'm a dog walker too, so maybe a dog wasting.
I know we have them at some areas of the city, but not all.
But I mean, that would just encourage people to get out and walk around it, but be more responsible with their animals. So, thank you.
I know there was mention of, in the beginning, about possibly putting in a bench. And again, it all kind of depends on how the funds, for example, if we don't have to remove any invasives, we have additional money that we planned on spending anyway, so we can use that for something else. It's more if we were trying to figure out where is the best place to put that. I love the idea, and we have to keep coordinating with leisure services and the rest of the city to make sure that's okay. I think it's great.
Ms. Billman, do you have any other input? Tom, would you like to?
I don't know where to start.
Go ahead.
I've done wetlands restoration. I don't know where to start.
Okay.
So the way I say, in 2016, you had a wonderful micro ecosystem. You destroyed it, and now you're trying to put something back in cornrows.
I don't know, for example, what was exactly on that lot. I can go back and talk to the people who were involved. It might have been a lot of Brazilian peppers. That's what I anticipate it mostly was, but there definitely was some other positive aspects of that area. With every vacant lot, there are definitely some positive aspects, and there may be some invasives. There's always a mixture, and there's always an ecosystem.
Well, could you go back to the drawing, please, and explain to us where the planting's going to be? Because I can't really see from here, but I know you said the gray part was existing already.
Oh, wait 1 minute. Can I wait just 1 second? Tom, are you finished with?
No, but
sorry.
like, for example, let's take a look at the plan. You have trees in nice, neat rows. Well, that's not the way they grow in nature, and right away you're diminishing their ecological positivity.
Can you pull up the slide that shows the previous, what was there?
Correct.
And then I'll finish with Tom, and we'll come down to just where.
So that is what the lot looked like before. And then the 2016 project with FDEP, that is what happened. And you can see in that project, they did plant trees around the perimeter, but
They probably
you see
were
when you
being
go out
hindered.
there, they are all very soldier lined, straight
Right,
across.
and they're probably being hindered because you have an area that's very high groundwater, And unless they're facultative wetland plants, they're not going to like their roots in water. You're going to diminish the plants, the roots are going to stay high, and as they get larger, they're going to be tipping over because of windstorms. So the biggest question is, has anybody looked at the plant list to see if it can accept times of inundation and water? Are they facultative wetland plants? Will they survive? Will they continue to grow? Otherwise, look, 90% of wetlands restorations fail. And they fail because people put in what they think should be there in the type of manner that you have in your plans, and they don't look at what would naturally grow in that area.
What can be there, yeah.
So right now, my concerns are, since a maple tree, I don't know what type of maple tree it's going to be. It, does it like getting its roots wet, in times of, we have big rain swings here. Not lately, but we do. And you add 12 or 14 inches of rainfall in a 24-hour period, that pond's going to fill up, it's going to start to drain, your groundwater is going to come up, and will the plants survive their roots being in the water? Likewise, in the littoral zones, it has littoral zone, but let's face it, it's a pond. It doesn't have tidal waters coming in and out. The level of the pond stays pretty much as it is.
Within 6 to 9 inches, maybe a foot at maximum.
All the plants matter. And the plants should not be put in nice, neat rows. They should be interdispersed. As a wetlands restoration, this one's going to fail.
Okay. I know in the plan it makes it look very perfect and idealistic, but that is merely just to show our general concept. And what you can see in grayed out, I don't think you can see where, if I point out, all of the trees that have been grayed out are the ones that were planted in that perfect line. What we're trying to add is we're trying to add some around there, so it's not just this man-made, perfectly in line segment.
Right, so the line should go, you want to cluster, you want to, they don't have to be, you don't want them perfect.
Yeah.
You don't want that list being perfect.
And as for the plants, in the scope of work, in our original grant application, there was more detail on the type of plants. I think in the scope of work, it was limited, so I can get those to you. And that was worked out between Kim, the environmentalist, and aquatic vegetation control talked to us as well about what will work in certain areas. So I am not the plant expert whatsoever. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, neither am I. Neither am I. I dealt with wetlands in the north, but wetlands down south are totally different.
So I had really been relying on Kim Hagler for this project because she was working with the plants. So now I'm shifting more towards our consultant that I've asked recommendations to, and if you have anyone else you'd like me to talk to, I'm willing to talk to anyone else.
We should take a very close look at the plants and make sure that they can tolerate these fluctuations in water level. Otherwise, you're just going to stunt their growth and they're never going to grow. What water quality parameters are we looking at?
I can get you the test of the water quality test, but there are 5 different types of tests we were going to use so that we can see the phosphorus and nitrogen and the muck and what's in there currently, so we can see the process.
Well, phosphorus and nitrogen, to me, are the 2 most important. pH is going to
Yes.
up and down all day long too, because...
Yes, the pH was more to make sure that the plants are matching the correct pH.
Right,
and the idea was because currently in some of our ponds, we have invasive vegetation that has overgrown, and we've learned that that invasive vegetation sometimes changes and alters the pH. So we wanted to make sure it hasn't already been harmed in that way. But yeah, our big focus is the phosphorus and nitrogen and nutrient reduction.
And the other thing we have to realize is not all invasive vegetation is bad invasive vegetation.
No.
Cattails are wonderful at absorbing nutrients. They may not be, people may not like them, but they're really good at what they do. So it's again, not all invasives are different.
Tom, you have any other questions?
No, I think that's enough.
And then I think with those, what I've learned from those that I reached out to about the plant specific, their big focus was start small, do it in phases, plant just a third or even a half of what you intend because it will expand, but take your time.
Yes.
So that is one thing that we're focusing on. So it also, that's another reason why I don't want to go ahead in the scope of work, you can see that I have delayed the planting of many of these things many, many, many months, because I want to receive more information, be more educated on this, and make sure we have a proper plan that a lot of people have agreed upon. So just so you know, it's not coming immediately. We have time, but the idea was to do some of the easier things that we can do up front. And then, so I'm not looking to go ahead, do everything all in one
And
day.
what you might find is that, look, everything looks great on paper.
Yes.
This plan is not making it, we got to stop buying those.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's, you have to have that flexibility.
Yeah, and we definitely do, because we, like I said, we want to use this as a pilot program, and we want this to work as best as possible. And we want to learn through the process, so we don't make similar mistakes anywhere else. I know some projects get rushed, so I am a little concerned about it being within a grant with those timelines, but that is one of the reasons why we've extended the water quality testing. We'll extend beyond that timeline so we can keep monitoring this and making sure it's actually doing what we expected it to do. And if not, maybe we need to change course in the future.
And that's right, you need to have that flexibility.
Oh,
And that's important, because
Yeah.
wetlands do not like to be restored, especially the microbiota. They just never happens. Never happens. Okay, I've had enough.
But thank you very much, Tom, and it's one of the reasons why we have everybody here on the board. Everybody brings something to the table. Dr. Carrier, do you have anything?
I wonder how comprehensive your water quality analysis is. The aeration system, it would seem to me, you want to look at dissolved oxygen. The whole process of aeration should mitigate against anaerobic accumulation on the bottom, for example. So you're getting circulation, you're getting improved dissolved oxygen. I assume that far beyond nitrates, phosphates, nitrites, pH, and the like, you're looking at a more comprehensive water quality analysis?
I'm really sorry that I did not bring the last report that we had them carry out, but I will share that with all of you. What we currently plan on testing, what we've already tested, and we intend to do the same test in the future, but if there's anything else you'd want us to add or change, please let me know, because now would be the time to do that.
Well,
So that's why we wanted to bring this up.
Yeah, especially with these initial analysis, we want to see what DO is, and then a little bit later on, once the aeration gets in there, you want to watch how that changes, because, as you said, you're trying to build for the future. If you're going to put similar kinds of structures together, we want to be able to say with some degree of certainty that we mitigated against hydrogen sulfide buildup because we had good aeration, we had good dissolved oxygen, supported good plant growth, and so on and so on. So I'd like to see to see the details of what's being analyzed, and then and see if it isn't nice and comprehensive, at least initially.
Because, yeah, I definitely want this to be a interactive process. I know you are hesitant as there's not a liaison, but I'm 100% invested in this, and I can help you with your other projects.
No, there's absolutely no hesitation for you being the liaison. We'll be clear about that. Okay, is there any other comments, Dr. Carrier? Donna?
Okay, so just if we're looking at this diagram, I'm just trying to see on the right side of it, I see the extra maple trees you're going to put in, but
Yeah.
the other plan, it says here, new littoral zone area, and there's like a triangle there.
So that area I've kind of boxed out as a general area we want to include more.
And then there'll be another one at the other end?
Yeah, there'll be 3 different littoral zones. So there's little portions of each of those that we've already seen some spike rush start to develop on its own. So we know that it can function in that pond, and we know it can thrive. So we're looking to try and expand that.
Okay.
And just have additional areas, because you can see that the banks on that pond and other areas, it is eroding down. So the whole idea is we want to plant these to kind of stabilize that shelf, so you're not just having this cave in. So wherever it says extent of existing spike rush,
Yes.
those small little arrowed areas, that's what we have existing. And we're looking to expand on those into that greater extent. And again, we're gonna take it slow, that we might plant a third of what we plan, see how it goes, see if it's expanding on its own, because we've been told whatever we start to plant, it will multiply and it will double, or could double from that area. It may or may not. It may or may not. So we're just starting slow. And then you can see beyond that boxed out littoral zone, those are the upland shrubs along the bank. That kind of looks like almost like an overhead of another tree. You know, there's like a legend at the top right, but I know with this size, it's a little difficult to see.
Too?
Yes, I can give you.
Would you please?
I will
Thank
give you everything tomorrow.
That would help because I can't see very well with this little thing. And the other question I had to do about signage. Okay, has that already been?
It has not been fully designed.
Okay, well, I would really ask to be involved in that because all the signs they put on all the parks are this little tiny little. You cannot, if you're in a car and you're driving by, you cannot read that. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's just little things that some people don't know, you know, and we'll be glad to help you.
And I think our plan was more for people walking up to see this sign.
That's
but
true,
I guess for the temporary project in progress, that should be large.
Oh,
so
yes.
that people can see
Oh,
it
yes.
and people know.
And the fact that you want educators to see it too. So, you know, even grandparents walking their kids. Oh, look at this. Let's go over and see that. If they're on the sidewalk, they want to be able to see something that interests them to bring them in there.
Yeah.
So the size of the font is really important. Not just go with the lowest bidder here.
No.
We'll definitely show you a proof before we
Thank
go ahead
you.
and do anything.
I appreciate that.
And in the scope of work with the Indian River Lagoon Council, we have these steps along the way. For example, this is a draft plan we sent to them. This is not final. We will also send them a draft signage. Again, not final. So we have chances in between to make changes.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. Greatly appreciate that. Ms. Hagerty?
Yeah, I have one question, and that is about how many volunteers do you anticipate needing, and where do you expect your volunteer base to come from?
So this is where I need your help.
Look in the mirror.
But I want it to be more than just you guys on the board. So we will definitely be advertising at your Natural Resource Board meetings. We're going to be advertising City Council website. I would love to reach a variety in the population. So one thing I want to do is bring this to local elementary, middle school.
Does the high school still have their environmental?
I have not been too involved with the high school, so I don't know, and I personally need to introduce myself because I don't.
You don't know. I mean, I haven't been to high school in a very long time, but they used to have a whole environmental program.
I can find out. I'm the interactive ambassador with Rotary for the high school.
Oh, you are?
Thank you. I can find out. I'm the Interact Rotary ambassador, so, and they're always looking for opportunities to volunteer. The wrestling team, the rowing team, the band, they all have to do volunteer hours.
Yeah, they need to look good on their college applications.
Right. So we'll give them stuff to do.
And that's one thing with part of this grant, it was a requirement for an outreach and an educational component, that there needs to be a volunteer base. So that is also a push for us. But to me, it's more for just getting the message out and touching as many people as possible. So I will be reaching out to you for more ideas, and I'll let you know who we're reaching out to, but you'll see this in Sebastian Daily, you'll see this on the Facebook, you'll see this on Channel 25, and I will let you guys know way before when we're planning for these days, but I would love for any of you and spread the word.
Don't we have somebody else on the board that's with the Boy Scouts? Marcus? I think we have another member that, I mean, the Boy Scouts have Eagle projects too.
And the other thing is, so originally, I think when Kim and I planned this out, the idea was one volunteer day. And I think she had a number of, I don't remember if it was 40 volunteers. But honestly, going back and realizing that we need to do this in phases, it's going to be multiple volunteer days. And I foresee that we can't really have the same people showing up to each one. Some people may, and I would love that. Others may only be able to go to one thing or another. So that's where I'm trying to reach out to as many as possible because I want to split it up and do it in small segments. So we're doing this correctly. So, yeah.
Ms. Haggerty, do you have any other questions?
If you were to make literature or something like that, is that something that we would be able to disperse for you?
We definitely want to make flyers and posters and all this. We haven't made anything yet. We're really just in the beginning stages, but yeah. I'm open to any suggestions, any ideas, but we definitely want to make any and all of the things we've talked about. Some of you have given me some really great ideas about other things.
Ms. Billman, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, on the paperwork here, you have it labeled as Tulip Grant Habitat Restoration. Is there any way to kind of give it a little bit more descriptive as to what you're trying to do with, like, the wetlands? Like an upland wetland habitat restoration, you know, how you're incorporating trees and plants that do well with wet feet.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of people that live on ponds and stuff in our neighborhoods. It could also be kind of a learning experience for them, but what works that they can do in their own properties, you know.
Okay. And that is one thing we've already reached out to University of Florida, IFAS, and they definitely want to help, and they will be helping a lot of that with that education of what can go where and what works best for what. So I know I'm someone that I needs to learn more about what is perfect for each scenario. So yeah. Thanks.
Does anybody online have any comments? Well, I'll just recap then. Our biggest concerns look like water quality parameters, finding out about the types of plants that are being put in. We'd like to see some types of benches, a better description of what's going on there, as well as maybe dog stops for when people are walking by. Really wanting to look at the testing and the comprehensive water quality. Where we're at, what are we adding to, what the changes, and the timelines and all that. Again, the signages, and we'd really like to be involved with some of that. And we're looking for volunteers, and we're looking at the literature and everything that goes along with this tulip restoration. My only thing is, I heard that it lowers taxes, or it could lower taxes, and it helps with the drainage issues in that area.
This will definitely help with the drainage issues. As for lowering taxes, that is, if you have commercial property in the city, you can use these types of tactics and low impact development and green infrastructure. What we're showcasing here, you can do on your property to help with the stormwater, and you can apply for a credit.
Okay, good.
So it's for commercial properties.
All right, that clears that up a little bit.
But a lot of commercial properties have come to us saying, we want to apply, what do we do? And they don't have a concept of where to go next. So we want to make all this literature of what you can do, how you can do it, how you take care of it. So we want to make more of a toolkit for all sorts of people in the community.
And it'll definitely help with the drainage issues in that neighborhood. Okay, excellent. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or concerns? Is there any additional information you want to give to us?
I don't think so at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Gordian, Ms. Miller, that was a great presentation for your first time out. It was really fantastic. I have yet to figure out how to do the PowerPoint presentation, so I will build the little, dioramas to bring in, actually draw it out for you. So, but that was fantastic. Everybody here got a good feel for what's going on there. And if there's no more questions or anything, we'll move on through our agenda. Okay, we are on item 8, old business. And again, this is the old agenda. The new agenda will be coming. So we'll stick to the old agenda for now because this is what's here. So the old business is a summary of the Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup event that was held July 23rd, 2022. And my name is on there, so I guess I will be giving this summary. It was actually really fantastic. Kim Hagler was there, I was there, Tom was there, Jeff, Ruth, a lot of other people were there. Vice Mayor Fred Jones was there with his wife Carrie. We actually got to go out to the islands and pick up whatever refuse we could find out there, and it was pretty amazing. It was everything from what you would think would be out there: cups, paper plates, plastic spoons, to we found some type of train wheel. We actually found a train wheel out on the island. So we're still trying to figure out how the train wheel got out there. It's quite interesting. It was a train wheel.
Not a training wheel, a train wheel.
Yeah, real big steel wheel. But everybody came out, everybody was doing their part. A big shout out to Team CrossFit and everybody else who has anything else to do with the Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup, because it's a very large event. It's up and down the Indian River Lagoon. I know they had picked up thousands of pounds of garbage altogether, but just our station alone, we picked up over 892 pounds. And that's just what we weighed out. That's a lot of just paper, plastic. Now, the train wheel we did weigh up. So, and it did weigh in, but it only weighed like 85 pounds, and something like that. So 900 pounds of just garbage, styrofoam, glass bottles, plastic bottles, aluminum cans, 350 aluminum cans. I don't know what we would get for recycling for that. Cigarette butts, more than can be counted. Rope, carpet, and plywood. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you wouldn't think is out there that makes its way to the lagoon. Now, it could be from storms. It could be just blown off a boat. But stuff like cigarette butts, that's somebody who's basically made a conscious decision to flick their butt and pollute our lagoon. So if you're smoking out there, take your butt home. Let's see. And a big thank you to Cynthia Gibbs and everything for she was doing for sponsoring for the refreshments, because we do get thirsty out there. We're digging up garbage and everything else. A big shout out to Dr. Carrier here for bringing his boat. He calls it a skiff, but it's quite the boat. And, we got out there on a little sandbar and pushing it out. And Vice Mayor Fred Jones with his wife Carrie, we jumped off the boat and walked around the whole island. Vice Mayor Jones traipsed around that whole island. Next time I will wear shoes. And so that was something else. I really wasn't thinking about getting off the boat. Every time I'm with this shark expert, he's the one on the boat, and I'm the one in the water. And he's looking at me like, you did it again. Got you again. So I'm learning these things. Wear shoes, don't get off the boat. Other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for that. It was just a fantastic experience. We got out there early, stayed as late as we could. I don't think anybody got hurt, and we were able to really make impact on the garbage and everything else that was out there. So I want to thank everybody that was coming in. We're going to do it again next year, so look forward to it. And it's that's about all I have to say on that. Does anybody else want to comment on that? Okay, no additional comments. That's great. We will move on to, we still have member matters in this one. So we'll start down here on the end. Ms. Blumen? You want to start at this end? Okay, Ms. Haggerty? Well, we can't start in the middle because that's me.
You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, right. You can just say thank you for coming, and you don't have to say anything, actually. No, thank you. Okay, thank you, Ms. Haggerty, for participating, and we look forward to your future participation for the next at least 2.5 years.
Absolutely.
Ms. Ware?
No, I just want to remind Karen to email us all these things. Thank you again for the presentation. It was very good. Thank you.
Dr. Carrier?
Members of the board might recall some texts that we've had going back and forth about the possibility of visiting either the Florida Oceanographic Society or the MRC about seagrass plantings out in the IRL. And neither one of them have any cultivation going on right now. They're examining the ways to be able to grow out some seagrasses for explanting eventually. There's some permit issues. They couldn't quite bring it all up to Sebastian once it's ready without adequate permitting. But MRC is willing to talk to us either up there or they'll come down here for those who are interested about some of the shoreline restoration projects, mostly mangroves, that they're involved with. They grow out some mangroves up at the center up in Melbourne. So I'll continue to pursue that, and if we have a time that members of the board and other interested people would like to go up there and sit down and chat and talk about some of the shoreline restoration projects and eventually how that might extrapolate to seagrass explanting for assisting recovery of the seagrasses in the IRL is something that we'll continue to pursue and see if we can't get something, however informal, set up so that we can get some more information about, hopefully, some recovery of the seagrass beds in the lagoon. So.
Fantastic. Is that all you have, Dr. Carey? Thank you. Hi, Ruth. Welcome back. Would you like to comment on anything that we went by on? And we are at Member Matters, and this is the last chance you get for Member Matters.
I would like to jump on board Jeff's item and say I'm in, and is it possible that we can request having that as an agenda item on a future meeting so that we can perhaps invite these folks to present and or at least have an update in the next meeting, maybe that we can go and go up to Melbourne or such, wherever needed to attend there.
Ruth, I got a future agenda item, and I didn't catch on what. It broke up there a little bit.
Sorry, I'm in a mountainous area. Just saying that I agree with Jeff. I'd like to do that, and maybe we can have his agenda topic as an agenda topic at a future meeting.
Thank you very much, Ruth, and I hope where you're at up there in the mountains, you get a flat tire. Mm-hmm. I'm teasing. It's got to be beautiful up there, and we do miss you down here. Ruth is just basically saying she just agrees with you, Dr. Carrier. She'd like to have that as an agenda item.
Yeah, I'll continue to pursue it, and then I'll get in touch with our appropriate liaison to see that it's agended.
Is there any additional member matters from anybody? And I guess on the last one, seeing how this is our last member matters, the only thing I have to say is we got Earth Day coming up, and I think we're a little bit behind on our normal planning for Earth Day. Normally, our vendor lists would be going out. That used to be the biggest thing that this board did. From what I heard, that's all we planned for all year round was Earth Day. We've moved way beyond that, but that is our premier event. So we're going to have to find champions for this. And if we can get that on our next agenda to talk about the Earth Day planning, and somebody's going to have to be the vendor coordinator. That's our number one thing. And that person really needs to be computer savvy, really, and I'm not. I mean, there's some things I'm good at. I'm good at talking, but I'm not very good at the computer savvy. So as we go along, we're going to need a coordinator for that. And then we also got the Christmas coming up, where we are part of the Christmas parade. So either we're going to walk like we did when we first started out, or we could have a float. And so we need to think about, get that on the next agenda. And it isn't that hard. We get the trailer from the city and a couple city people who are willing to help us. We get plants from the different vendors, and we build a nice float. And something like those are just a couple of things I wanted to bring up because we just haven't spoken in such a while. Other than that, I've been glad to see everybody here. I'm glad to see the participation for everybody. You know, we've been doing this for quite a while now. I think we make a difference as a team going forward. Some of the things we'll be thinking about is we will have to have a vice chairperson at some point. So, at least by November, by the elections, we should have that addressed. Maybe as an agenda item, we have to address the vice chairperson's position and describe that to whoever it is. And other than that, I don't have any other member matters. So we will move on to item 10, staff matters. And again, staff, you guys matter. And I had to say, we got Janet and Jeanette. You guys messed me up so bad there for so long. And I was like, I know I'm getting this right. So, do you have any matters? Anybody over here?
So similar to the Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup, I know September 17th, there's another cleanup coming up. I believe it's called the International Coastal Cleanup. So there's lots of different sites that people can go to. I know the city is not hosting anything, but I just like to advertise all these different cleanups because it is a great thing. And we did have someone show up just before this meeting from Surfrider Foundation mentioning another cleanup that he may want some partnership with the city. It's October 2nd from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And he said they're having some sort of event at Paradolia's. I gave him my email and I'll get the follow-up and share it with you all tomorrow. But all I heard was October 2nd, 2 to 6, Surfrider Foundation doing some sort of cleanup.
Any staff matters way in the back? Nope.
No, sir.
Thank you very much for everything you guys do. Just want to tell you that your website is looking great. If anybody hasn't been there lately, it's a completely different website. End of staff matters, so we'll move on to item 11, items for next agenda. Anybody, any comment on that? The only thing I'd like to see is Earth Day, the float, and I'd like to get an update on the Sustainable Sebastian. And, see exactly where, there's an update online, the spreadsheet's there, but if we could talk about it here, and that would be helpful. Stay on top of that.
Perhaps you could agenda an MRC.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it, but we can talk back and forth on how best to structure, but at least get it on the agenda so we can chat about it.
I have on my notes 5 different items for next agenda. So, Sustainable Sebastian, talking about vice chair, presentation and/or visit from MRC, Christmas parade, vendor coordinator for Earth Day, and just planning for Earth Day in general.
You can tell we haven't had a chance to talk lately. Okay.
9:30 time limit's going to come in handy.
Woo. Okay, if that's any additional comment for items for next agenda? Anybody online participating, that like Ruth or Ms. Brooke?
Actually, I do want to say something. I apologize to Ruth if you were about to make a comment. But I don't want us to forget Litter Quitter, because that was something we had talked about months ago, that Kim had done the presentation for you guys about Litter Quitter, and then we mentioned it earlier in this meeting. I just want to make sure we...
Can I comment on that? I was going to comment on that, but it wasn't on the agenda, and I can comment. I had been championed for Litter Quitter by the board, so I was given permission to go to the Chamber of Commerce. I have gone to the Chamber of Commerce. Cheryl Tibereau, the Chamber's CEO, has agreed to put out a display for Litter Quitter at the Chamber. The Chamber doesn't actually endorse anything, really, but they said they would participate with us in as much as they possibly can. We should have a display there right now, and from there I can approach different businesses that are part of the chamber. So that's pretty much stays within my scope of what I'm able to do, and that's where we're at with Litter Quitter, as far as the chamber is concerned. But I'd love to see a presentation on Litter Quitter as well.
I believe last time...
Charles, we have a whole bunch of items.
I'm sorry, I heard
this
something.
is Ruth. I was just...
Sorry, you can go
Can
ahead.
you hear me? This is Ruth.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I was Charles, before you go and do anything for litter quitter, we need to have all the materials that are together. They were never gathered. We
Right.
talked about that at our last in-person meeting. That still needs to be done for approaching any businesses.
Right, yeah, we're just, she's got the handbook for right now and whatever she's doing with that, and then wherever we can take it from there. But I just want to let you know I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Could you clarify for me, are you limited to the businesses that are chamber members and who you approach?
No,
Is that, or?
I gotta go through the chamber. So I go to the chambers right here on US 1, and I'll go to them, and then whatever they tell me I'm allowed to do. So I could go to individual businesses, but that's outside of my scope right now. So until we get everything in line, I deal with Cheryl, and she'll set up everything.
At the last NRB meeting, Kim had spoken about having a training for you guys, and we did talk about that just briefly at the beginning of, I think, of this meeting. And I'm not sure how exactly we're going about planning that, but I would like to make sure that we do get to have the training for you guys and also for myself and any other people who want to participate in dispersing the information to businesses about litter quitters. So we need to make sure that that training happens.
Is there any additional comments there? And nothing else from any items for the next agenda? All right, if I can get a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
Same sign for nay. No, ayes have it. Meeting's adjourned.